Recognize that tune, and you know it's time for Relics Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting and relic hunting. You can call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. You're listening to Relics Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. And you are live on Relics Radio again tonight. It is September 27th. 2018, the year is winding down and the rain is here and the cooler weather is here. And we're going to get the band back together tonight, ain't we, Jeff?
We sure are. I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad.
Had a great time off, but I'm ready to come back.
Yeah, and you and I, we've been apart for on the show here for a couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, I was gone. Had a meeting, and Heath Jones filled in for me, and then last week you were gone, and Sue Roberts filled in, and we appreciate both of those people, but nothing like having the two original rednecks with a metal detector, is there?
No, there's no comparison to it, but, I appreciate Sue being there for me, and I appreciate Heath being there for you, so, yeah, we couldn't have done it without them.
No, both great people, I tell you, and really didn't miss a beat other than the fact that, this is our brand, me and you, and that's what people expect when they come, and we like to be able to give them that. I tell you the truth, I've had a busy week. I had to check and make sure what login that I was on whenever I turned my Spreaker account on, because I hosted the Monday night show for American Digger Relic Roundup from here, and then hosted the call-ins, the Skype stuff for History Seekers on Tuesday night. So I had to go back in this afternoon and make sure that everything, and I guess everything's right because everybody came to Relics Radio, and I see our logo up there, so I think all is well.
Yeah, we've got all our buddies in there. We've got Chris Hansall, Ring Finder. We've got Ken Guthrie. There's Dennis. We've got Ohio Relic Hunter. There's Ring Finder again. And then that's about it right now. So, but yeah, all of our buddies are there.
Barbecue Freak is in. I don't know if you've seen him in there or not.
Sure did.
Yeah.
No.
Anita Jackson is in. Larry Stevens is in. Finding America is in. We've got a house full already, I tell you what. And I've got something that I want to bring up before we get too far. And my chat will lock up, so you'll have to watch that here in a little bit. But I talked to Heath Jones a while ago, and as most of you know, Heath and some of them went to Selma, Alabama last week to a commission meeting there, where they are attempting to take away metal detecting rights on the Alabama River in Selma, Alabama. They're putting that on the state registry, and they want to get it on the federal registry. And the final committee or commission meeting for that was today. And Heath went to that, and it was a lost cause. They have put that on. And something that really worried both of us is that Heath told me, he said one of the guys got up with the commission there, and it is the Alabama Historical Commission, and just made the statement, you guys with metal detectors, y'all have no right coming in and stealing all this history and taking out all this history, and even made the point that there was a guy the other day I seen, and he was on the curb strip, out by my house hunting. And he said, is that the next thing that you're going to take away from us? So I tell you something, guys, we're going to have to begin to lobby. We're going to have to let our voice be heard, or we're going to lose the right that we have. We pay taxes for the upkeep, and we actually purchased all this public land that the government has bought. So we need to get our act together, and we need to, we need to be responsible. We need to be respectful, but we need to have our voice heard. There's no doubt about it. And Heath recorded part of that conversation that went on today, and we're going to go through the audio and clean it up and doctor it up and everything where that you can hear it and understand it. And sometime on a future show, I don't know, I'll probably be on History Seekers, I guess. We're going to play that and just have a show about that and talk about it. But I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. And he said that they went in knowing that they were going to lose this round. But, we can't let this slippery slope remain because it is extremely slippery.
It sure is. And then, it's just going to get worse and worse. And, it's like, all right, Seven, you and I, we hunt private property all the time. But this private property around here is beginning to build up. We've got a 60-acre field right here next to the house that's fixing to be a subdivision. Within a year, it's going to have several homes built on it. And there goes that piece of property. So we're going to have to hunt public land one of these days around here. And if we let them, they're going to take it from us.
Yeah, that's right. And that's that soybean field, I guess, right next to you. You found a real out in the middle of it, didn't you?
I sure did. And then, there's a lot more stuff out there.
Yeah. So we can't, we can't allow that to happen. And I hated to start, the show off on a negative note, but I think it's something that's important. I think it's something that we all need to be aware of and need to understand. And we need to be proactive with it, or like you said, we're going to eventually may have to hunt public land. And so that we're trying to save history for future generations as well. And, anything and everything that we can do on that will just be a plus for those that, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. I'd love for them to have the same opportunities, but as you say, the whole world's building up, concrete and asphalt's covering everything.
And it sure is. And, it's just going to get worse and worse. And you look right next to a river. It's going to be lost forever. If somebody cannot find it now, the rivers move every year. They move inches and inches by every year. And it's just going to be gone. No one's ever going to see these relics unless somebody gets them now.
That's right. Hey, I want to say something else, too. I see Mark Hoover is in. Mark Hoover was on the way in from New York today. I talked to him a couple of times. Good to have you back home, Mark, and glad that you had a safe trip, and really do appreciate you being on here tonight. And by the way, I sent your package off to you today, things that we discussed. Hey, Jeff, who we got tonight as a guest?
We've got Dennis for a guest. Now, what about that? He's always calling in, so here he can talk as much as he wants to.
That's right. I kind of kidded with Denny whenever I hollered at him. He would call in to our show, and we appreciate call-ins. And by the way, our call-in number tonight is the same as it always is, and it's also the History Seekers number now. It is 270-495-0315. So, Jeff, I see us put that in the chat, and we will take calls at any time. Anytime you want to call and jump in, and we are one of the podcasts, because I lobbied with Skype to keep the old version active. We're one of the podcasts that can take as many calls as you throw at us, and so far, knock on wood, we haven't had a hitch. But how you doing tonight, Denny?
I'm doing pretty good, Loy and Jeff.
Well, good. We certainly been looking forward to this interview and having you on the show tonight. We just feel like that you're part of the family. You're more than a guest. You're home.
Well, I guess I call in enough to all the radio podcasts. So Butch is I call into Butch every week, whether I need it or not. Butch and Jeff and Heath. And I try to here. And some of the other radio programs, it's hard to hit every one every day. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, it is. And it's hard for me. I go back and listen to the archives and everything. And as you know, because you've seen it and you said you were writing them down, but me and Jeff have wrote them down, and we're going to start the show out with this right here. But we have show prep on Relics Radio Facebook group page. And if you haven't gone to that, you need to go to that page and ask to join, and we will approve your membership and put you on there. We're growing in leaps and bounds. We're almost up to 350 members now, and we just started the thing, really started pushing it here, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. But I put a thing on there called Show Prep, and people are able to ask questions because not everybody is able to catch this show live, and they would like to ask questions in the chat, but they're not here. So that gives them an opportunity. So I'm just going to turn the show over to Jeff, and Jeff, just pick whichever question that you want to start with, and we'll go from there.
Well, listen, I'm just going to start right up at the top. This is from Bob McCracken. What was Denny's favorite DIV hunt and favorite find at DIV?
Well, I have to say, actually, there's two of them. More than that, I've been at a lot of DIVs. I've lost count. I used to have in fact, I still have a book that I started doing every DIV I went to and the best finds, and not just mine, everybody else's. But I started DIV 10, and actually my favorite was DIV 14 and 15, and those were 2 March hunts, and the first DIV 14 was my first breastplate I ever found. So it took me 14 DIVs to find my first breastplate, and that was in March. And the following year in March again, that was at the first breastplate was at Brandy Rock Farm, and the next month, next year, which is 2015, my second breastplate was at the Excelsior Farm, and actually we're going back to that farm again this time. So I found that in a Confederate roadbed, and if you ever hear Butch talk about the breastplate that I stole from him, that's where I got it. Because Butch said that he told me, I saw him hunting in there the day before, and I said, well, I wouldn't go in because, GPXs kind of tend to bother each other if you get too close to each other. So I didn't go in, and the next day he says, well, why don't you go in there where I hunted? I found quite a bit of stuff in there. Well, I did. And actually the first two things I found, Butch had one of those new Carrot probes or pinpointers.
Pinpoint, yeah.
And he didn't know how to run it yet. And the first 2 targets I found were mini balls laying right on top of the ground. I went, I got to follow this guy. And then I got a really great signal. And I might add, I was using, it's called I call it Joy coil, but it actually is from Minelab. It's a little 10x5 coil. And when I hunt woods, that's what the coil I use because it just goes in between everything. And I got this signal. It sounded like a bullet. And Butch says, no, Denny, that blanks out. Well, he was using his 11-inch coil, and it would. And I dug down, and I had a shovel, cheap Carter Lumber Company shovel, and I actually bent the tip. There was a boulder there. When I moved the boulder, the breastplate fell out. It was standing right straight up and down in between 2 rocks.
Goodness
man.
gracious.
That only happens in the movies.
That was a good find, and it's still number 1 in my book.
Oh, yeah. For the people that doesn't know out there, DIV stands for Diggin in Virginia. That's a paid hunt that John and Rose puts on every year, and they put it on twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year. So, but it's a very good hunt. I've been there a few times. So, but
I don't know if you went, Jeff, but one time we had a hunt in May, and it was so hot. We were we'd go out early in the morning, and they were going to put I forget what the heck, some kind of a solar system in that area. And they were going to cover up all the ground, so John made it so we could get in. And a guy found a bayonet in the ground, and it took him, I almost say 3 to 4 hours to get it out of the ground because the ground was so hard. You could see it, but he couldn't get it out of the ground. It was so hard. And about noon, my partner and I got in the truck, and I got a picture of it. It was 98 degrees inside the truck, and we had the air conditioner on. We ran the air conditioner and just went to sleep. It was so hot. But that's the last time I ever went to Virginia in May.
Oh yeah, it's got to be terrible. And then the last hunt, let's see, no, it was the second to the last hunt. We was at the back part of Beauregard, and then we got in some pits. But every time you would dig a hole, it would fill up with water. I mean, and of course,
for sure.
we were finding bullets, but you had to work through the water with them. And I think it was like 4 or 5 pinpointers died that day. Of course, they didn't have the Garrett carrot out, but it was just the regular black ones. But I mean, we were doing good, but just had the water problem.
That back part is a really good part. That's really close to the Brandy Station, or the Brandy Station battlefield. That's right in the battlefield area there. Folks, we do not hunt battlefields. We hunt campgrounds where all these men stayed for 5 months, and that's where we hunt. We don't hunt battlefields or national parks. No. That's a no. So, but part of Beauregard is they have a small area there that belongs to Beauregard, not to the national park, and it is part of that battlefield. So,
and
you're allowed there.
Last spring, me and Jeff we went to the Glebe farm, and it's pretty close to that, isn't it?
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you turn at Brandy Station.
It's east of there.
Yeah.
Right across the road, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right across the road from Beauregard, exactly.
Yeah. I never have hunted that one. I've only hunted 2. I hunted the Glebe farm last year, and then this spring we went, and we spent the bulk of our time in the New York camp on that side there. Did go one day to the other one, but we didn't do very good over there. And so, we didn't do very good anywhere we went, just to tell you the truth.
Well, you got to understand, 400 to 500 people have been hitting these places for many, many years. And especially if you're using a VLF machine, you might as well forget it. And I hate to tell people that, but it is what it is. The relics are deeper and deeper, and you got to have a GPX. And a GPX, you have to go extremely slow. If you find a bullet, wherever you find it out there, go really slow, and I guarantee you're going to find more. And if you're weed whipping out there, which you've seen, you're not going to find anything.
You're not.
And most of the targets are so deep that without a GPX, you're just not going to find it. And I mean, the CTX 3030s, I think Bill Hayes runs one of those. If he gets near me, I kind of like to wrap that around his head, but I can't do that. That just raises havoc with a GPX or almost any machine out there, that CTX 3030. It's crazy. And it's a good machine, but it weighs a ton.
Yeah.
Even more than the GPX.
I hunted with my 3030 on the Glebe farm and didn't do any good in the fields and everything. But me and Jeff got up in the woods where it wasn't as hot, and everything worked better there, you know. And in the chat, Jason Jarnigan, I hope I pronounced that right, he wanted to know what mode do you generally begin with in the GPX in mild soil, and that kind of goes along with a question that I wanted to ask you too, is just, what are your general GPX settings? My settings in Ohio or Virginia are the same. I don't change a darn thing. I have a Nautilus, and I figure if I could run a Nautilus any place in Ohio, well, you can't run it any place in Virginia because you can't run it in Culpeper. You can run it almost any place else in that state, but you can't run it in Culpeper because of mineralization. But I run. You want the settings now, Loy? Yeah. Just kind of go through them and tell everybody how you set that up, and then what you would change if you got into a different kind of soil or a different situation.
In the really hot soil of Virginia, and I just use the same settings. A few things I do change. I've got it printed out here, and I could send a print out to everybody if they want one. It's just what I use. Don Dotson is where I got my first GPX, and I've since bought one from Heath. I'd like to spread my wealth. But these settings are good for the 4500, the 4800, and the 5000. And guess what, folks? The only difference between all three of those, most of the time for relic hunting, is the money. They all cost more. 4500 is your cheapest, and I found my first plate with a 4500, and then I found another plate with my 5000. And the only reason I bought that is because I bought one and got one free, and I've already sold the second one, so made out pretty good on that deal. But my settings on the function, the range is just deep, and you go down to special soil. These are on the front of the box.
Right.
Okay, Lloyd, you hear that?
Yeah, on the front, yeah.
So deep, special, double D, and fixed. So it'd be special soil timings is special. The coil RX, I guess it says, is double D, and the ground balance is fixed. Now on special, sometimes I'll not run special, but I'll run normal. If you're out in the field, especially where we're at, and you got, we're going to have 250 hunters out there, probably 195 or 170 of them's going to have GPXs. And if they're raising havoc with your machine, there's a couple of things you can do, but one of them is put it in normal. And, there's just like a world of difference in normal. And normal doesn't distract from your depth or anything. It really works good for me. I got that from Streak, or Ken Cox is his name, and he talked me into that one day, and it really works well. On the ground balance, on the fixed, let's see where I'm at here. I'm trying to look at this.
And
one of these settings is for, let me turn on my machine real quick, and I'll tell you, I know where it's at on there. Let me see here.
One other thing that you can do if you're getting, especially EMI, is on your coil.
Right. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, instead of going to double D or mono, go to cancel. Now, that will affect your depth a little bit, but it quietens it down.
Now, that's for if you get around high wires or electric fence. For the farmer's got electric fence out there, it'll drive your GPX nuts. And I've already went right under the high tension wires, and put it in cancel. And yes, it will take down your depth, but I dug some pretty nice New York buttons, cup buttons, with it being in cancel, because nobody else could go work in there with their GPXs. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid to play with these things, but always remember your cancel mode. A lot of guys will buy anti-interference coil, but and that works too, but then you got to change coils. And I don't like to run that coil all the time when I could just run my regular 11-inch.
Yeah.
So with 11-inch, if you get into where it's really noisy because of electric EMIs, put it in cancel.
And Larry Stevens wants to know, let me jump in real quick so that everybody knows what we're talking about here, and this is probably going to be a Civil War and GPX show, because that's what Denny does. A GPX is a Minelab pulse inductive machine, and it was designed originally for finding gold, but relic hunters found out that is a great machine for the highly mineralized soil of Culpeper, Virginia, and it will cut through that like butter, I tell you.
I've already been at Coles Hill, which I don't think you've hunted, Lloyd, but I actually was standing with my partner talking on top of a hill when already the day before, almost everybody out of 500 people was in that area. And we were standing on this hill, and I actually moved a half an inch and got a mini ball, and I moved another half inch and got another mini ball, because what they were doing, they were actually swinging too fast. And here again, if you find one mini ball, there's going to be more. If you figure every day, these guys at Coles Hill, there were 30,000 men camped there for 5 months, and then they went to the firing range every day, and they fired off 40 rounds each. Hello, that's a whole lot of lead going somewhere.
It is.
And we have a hill there, and a lot of people with VLF machines, that's where you want to go. One of the guys, Nugget Noggin, I think, that went up there with a VLF, and he cleaned his claw. I mean, there was just stuff everywhere because it was in the woods. So if you're going to take a VLF machine, find woods or brush or something like that, because that's the only place you're going to be able to hunt, because the ground hasn't been disturbed.
Yeah. Okay. When you put your detector in cancel, which side of the coil does it use?
Left.
I'm thinking the left side, but I can't tell you for sure.
And when you
I also turn my coil to the side to pinpoint better. I mean, if you're down in a hole, you can actually turn your coil to the right. That's what I do. I just turn it to the right, and you can actually it'll pinpoint better that way. But
when you're in cancel, it pinpoints off the left side of the coil, not the center of the coil.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. But a lot. I mean, if you go to Virginia, and that's another thing I should mention here. I mean, a lot of people sell these really fancy, dancy shovels that are pointed and got serrated edges all around, and that's okay. But when you're using a GPX, you better have a shovel. I mean, just a regular old shovel. And a lot of guys use the taller ones with forget what kind of handle it's got. Mine's got a yellow handle. And that's what I use. I use a shovel. I don't use pinpointed anything because the coil's 11 inches, and you're going to have to dig a hole 11 inches. I mean, my first target with my GPX at Coles Hill, is where I first started using it, I dug a 44 caliber bullet at 2 feet. Now, you don't dig that with a pointed anything. So I'm just saying, take a shovel with you.
Okay, a buddy of ours, Will Johnson from California, he's been to DIVs, and he just posted a question, said, what scenario at DIV groups or group hunts do you use the small coils?
Well, I would say, after the first day and everybody's been out there and there's dig holes everywhere, I'd get out that little 5x10 or 10x5. What's that called? A commander coil?
Yeah, it's
Roy,
commander.
you've got one.
Yeah, I've got one.
Yeah, commander coil. I call it joy coil. I also have a joy coil. But use that thing and then go in between all those dig holes. I guarantee you're going to find targets. Guaranteed. One of the guys out there digging a hut at Brandy Station one time, and I had the joy, just came out of the woods, had found now that's all off limits up at, we call it Grandma's. But I found a beautiful New York up there and 3 beautiful eagle buttons in the woods with that coil on, that little small coil. It is, pardon my English, it's a kick-ass machine. I mean, coil. It is awesome. That should be in everybody's backpack if you're going to carry a backpack. So I really like that little coil. And that's where I would use it. I would use it in the woods. At the if you're going to that hunt at the Excelsior camp, there's a Confederate roadbed. That's where I found my plate, and I really liked it there. There was so much brush and roots and things that little coil goes through all those.
Yeah, Mark Hoover just asked a question. Says, Denny mentioned dig holes everywhere, people covering their holes back. Yes, I mean, everybody that hunts DIV, they know the situation, and they do cover their holes back. So
they do cover their holes, Mark, but one thing that really irritates me, especially if you get the newcomers in, they shouldn't even be doing it at home. I'm a big believer in if you dig a hole and you dig trash, you take it with you, period. No ifs, ands, or buts, you take it with you. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to go back into this same field and dig the same damn target again, and it's another square nail or whatever it might be?
Hey, guys, we're coming up on a hard break. We need to pay some bills, and we'll be right back.
Hey, Seven, we's looking good in our new Redux Radio T-shirts.
Yeah,
Ken and Mark Guthrie of detectors.com done brung 'em to us.
Yep. And they makes other shirts, too.
Yeah, boy. Detectors.com can handle tees for your club, hunt, or any other promotion folks may have.
They even got the Wide Pride shirts.
Yeah, them boys does the manatee crawl.
Yeah, scooting on their bellies.
That's what I said. The manatee crawl.
Looks like slugs eating jelly.
So whether you hunt horizontal or vertical, tell the folks where they need to go, TJ.
www.detectors.com.
Still love that commercial, I tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Go check out
Gotta love it.
detectors.com with Mark and Ken Guthrie. They not only make detecting shirts, if you've got a sports event, your kid or your grandkid plays, get a hold of them. They'll make shirts for mama and daddy and grandma and grandpa and everybody.
And aunt and uncle and cousins.
That's right.
Yeah.
They'll
like
sell
you
them.
said, everybody.
They'll sell them as long as you'll buy them.
That's right.
Have you got another question there, Jeff?
I do. Denny, have you ever found a relic and tossed it and then come to find out later that it was a good relic?
I did. Actually, it was my first hunt at DIV 10, and I really thought this was crazy. I dug I thought it was a pair of pliers, but what it turned out to be was actually a bullet mold, which I've been hunting for one, and I have not found it. And I found a tent. Actually, it was what they did is they would take a spike or a spike. I'm thinking of bigger than that. Anyway, they would line up their tents with these things, and then they just leave them lay. And I picked that up too. And then when I got back up by the water place where they had the water, you could dump your trash here, and I threw it in the trash. Don't you know? About 2 months later on eBay, I saw a guy that had been there, and guess what? He had in a collage that spike that I had and that bullet mold. I went, I know where that comes from. Yeah. And you know what? Today, you cannot, if you go to a DIV and you go to the trash where they throw the trash at, you'll very seldom see a horseshoe or a railroad spike anywhere. The guys pick those up right away and electrolysis them and then sell them.
Yeah.
They'll make something out of them. They make coat racks and everything else out of horseshoes.
The hunt I went to in Orange County with Relic Bob, we went through the trash, a friend of mine that was with me, and we were finding like the spikes and stuff, and somebody had tossed a musket barrel and thinking it was just a regular pipe, so we laid it back up on the table with all the displays, and then the original owner, I believe he come back and got it, so he figured out what it was.
Actually, I always carry a bucket with me for the trash because if you go to DIV, you gotta. If you're a driver, you take 3 other people with you, 2 or 3 other people with you. That way, you don't have 250 cars out there. It gets down to about 100 cars or something, or less. So, and those guys always dump their trash in my bucket. And I was actually going through my bucket last week, and I found part of the barrel band itself off the rifle where the ramrod went through. Somebody had thrown that in there. Thank you very much. That's cool.
Yeah. And, it's pretty neat. Of course, I keep all my trash. And then, of course, Lloyd, he keeps all his. And when it comes to you're going through a magazine or a book or something, and you'll be like, well, hey, I found that piece. And then you'll know exactly where it's at, somewhere in that pile. And then you can dig through that pile and find it. So, of course, my wife fusses at me. Well, when are you going to get rid of these big pile of irons around here? And then I was like, well, as soon as I figure out what everything is when I get rid of it.
I threw away a whole bunch of tensioners one time. Didn't know what they were. And then, like you said, I saw on Facebook or something or in a book where somebody had put that they had these tent tensioners. And I thought, that's what that was. And I thought I knew where I threw them, but I went back there and they wasn't there. So I guess I threw them in my trash can. They were in our local dump somewhere.
It was some relic hunter out there. It's like, hey man, they camped right here. Here's some tent tensioners, and then of course that's some other relic hunter found them from.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised at how many guys throw their frags in my junk bucket, but I like all those.
Oh yeah,
Bomb
yeah.
frags for those don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the cannonball fragments or shell fragments and everything. And at the Chattanooga show, they were selling those things for $2 a piece, no matter what size they were.
No, that's crazy. I saw that in Mansfield, Ohio, where I go to our largest Civil War show, and they were selling just little pieces. I went, man, I got some big ones at home. And in fact, some of I've got to have the where the fuse went in. You can see the threads. I've never found a fuse, but the last time at Beauregard they found a lot of fuses over close to the battlefield.
I've never found a fuse and never found a frag that had the threads in it for the fuse.
Yeah.
Hey, Denny, Paul Vento wanted to know, what is your favorite VLF detector for DIV if you had to use one?
If I had to use one right now, which I haven't used it yet, my Eagle Knox 800, I would definitely try that there. But I have used my Deus at the farm that you hunted there, the Clem farm or Glim. I hunted there, and I got 8 bullets there with my Deus, and I got one of them at 8 inches, so I thought that was pretty good. But I felt really bad. There were a couple there that both of them had an Deus, and they hadn't found anything in 2 days, and the third day they went home, and I felt bad because if I would have known, I'd have went and told them. Heath Jones gave me his program, and I had another from Andy Savage's, so I was using both of them, and that's what I went by. And you could not, if anybody uses the Deus, I use the horseshoe, and there was just a little bit of a line on the right side top of the horseshoe, and most of the numbers came in around -6 for a bullet. So if those people were looking for anything over a 70 or a 50 or a 40, they'd never find anything, nothing.
And most people don't know, but with a VLF machine at Culpeper, or when you got hot soil like that, or when they're really deep, they will all come up as iron. And so whenever I went with my CTX, it was useless. I was going to dig a bunch of nails because I couldn't tell a nail from a bullet or anything until we got in the woods. And then you had the layer of leaves and things that kind of helped you out there, and it was in a thicket and nobody was going to hunt that. So, and that's what me and Jeff like anyway.
The thickets are the best places. I've seen more Confederate belt plates come out of there. The Rees come out of there. It's in the thickets. I mean, nobody wants to go there, but that's where it's at. Of course, the boys from Texas, when they go to DIV, they wear the big snake boots all the way up to their knees, and they head for the thickets. That's where they go. And that's where the rattlesnakes are at, too, by the way.
Yeah. And that's what me and Jeff did, didn't we, Jeff? And you found a good Confederate find there. We may have lost Jeff. I
think we lost Jeff.
Yeah, he may have had to. He's still showing that he's on here.
Oh, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I hit my button on my little microphone. But anyway, that was the best button I'd found. It was a Virginia State Seal button. So.
Wow, that'd have been cool.
It was in a thicket. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
it was. It sure was. I had to clear out probably about a half acre of briars just to get down to the ground.
And, I'm interested. We talked to Debbie with Minelab, and they're still doing tests, and they're going to go to DIV with the Equinox. I'm interested to see how that machine is going to do. Now, I don't think that it's going to be in the same ballpark with a GPX, don't get me wrong. But the New York camp that we hunted back in the spring, that was the best machine there because those bullets, they were shallow, they were blanking with the GPX, and the people, there was one Knox there, maybe two, and I mean they cleaned up. I wish I'd have had my AT Pro at that place.
Well, a VLF would have worked there easily. That soil was not hot at all, no. And I know we're going back to that area for another hunt sometime in the future. Actually across the road. And I think sometime, because we were hunting the Confederate side, I think sometime we'll be hunting the Yankee site where they were shooting those rounds over at us. I can't remember how many shells were found there. Not cannonballs, but projectiles. A lot. Probably 15 anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe it was 15 or 20. There were several. And then, I mean, they'd been several found there before. So, I mean, it's got to be loaded.
The last day we were there on that hill, actually, I went over in that hill. We parked over there on that one side where it's real steep going up, and nobody was there. They'd already left. I guess they thought it was going to rain or something. My partner and I went up there, and he found a script eye laying right up on top of where somebody's dug hole.
Man.
And see, that happens quite often because they'll get a signal and they'll dig and they'll lose it, and then they'll just turn around and leave the hole, and then next thing you know, somebody comes along and finds it laying right on top of the ground, like Anthony Hostetler. He found the ID badge right next to a dig hole, and of course it was somebody had got the signal and lost it and just left the hole.
And that was between.
Yeah, I'd go over everybody's dig holes because when at Coles Hill again, my partner and I, we found this one guy. Every hole we went to was a mini ball laying out or sharps or anything. I mean, he just didn't find anything. I don't know what. A lot of people say, "Well, I don't need a pinpointer." Hello, you need a pinpointer there.
Yeah.
I mean, all day grabbing a handful of dirt going over your coil. That's just a waste of time on a hunt like that. I mean, It's not a fast hunt, but why would you go and miss something by just filling the hole or not even? Some guys don't fill their holes, which most of us old timers, we go around full of holes. You don't want the farmer coming out there seeing big digging, and you see that a lot of times in towns or in parks. A guy will dig a hole and, well, I just leave it. I don't dig. I don't fill it in. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, why
Crazy.
wouldn't you?
I mean, come to your yard and those holes.
Oh, yeah. I've got a funny story. Hornbush, of course, a good friend of mine. Anyway, he was at, I think we was at Boiler Guard, and we were down in the lower field, and, of course, he was using the GPX, and he got to noticing this guy with the VLF. And this guy with the VLF, he would go through and get a signal, and he'd scuff the ground a little bit and try to get a better signal, and then think it was iron, and then he would go on to the next one. And, of course, Hornbush, he got behind this guy, and he would go over the hole of the ground he scuffed up, and ended up digging gardeners. And he ended up digging 7 gardeners behind this guy, and then before he could catch up with him, the guy was already gone, and he was going to tell him, like, hey, you need to dig these signals that you're leaving behind.
Yeah.
Either that or you need to keep scuffing up the ground so I can dig them.
Yeah.
Let me go back to somebody said, who was it? What was my favorite VLF? I'll have to say somebody had a White's, what's that really expensive White's machine? I can't think of it now.
V3i?
Yeah, V3i. And I was out at that time, actually, I was out in the field with a TDI, White's TDI, and I was digging buttons and bullets. And that was at Boulevard over the back hill by the silo. And one right after another, and that guy says, "What are you digging?" I said, "Well, there's a button right here." I just knew it was a button by the sound. And I said, "Well, here, you go over it with this White's." And he said, "I can't find it. I can't hear it." And he tried all kinds of settings. I said, "Well, did you bring it back up?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "What is it?" He said, "Oh, another White's." I went, "Ugh." So I dug out my Infinium, Garrett Infinium, which is a PI machine, and I let him use that the rest of the day. So then he did find some bullets. I felt sorry for the guy.
You know, the first one that I went to, which was last year, I didn't have a GPX and tried to use my CTX, and it didn't work. And was it Rusty that let me borrow his TDI?
Oh, Randy Shull.
Randy Shull. He let me borrow his TDI, and I tell you what, I took to that machine pretty quick. The only thing was I just had it in low tone, so all I dug was bullets. I never did dig a button, and I didn't know the difference, that you put it where you'd have low tones and high tones. You put it in.
Actually, you should just put it in all metal.
Yeah, I know.
Then you dig them both.
Yeah.
But you dig a lot of nails that way.
Yeah.
Really big time.
Well, I could tell the difference between a nail and a bullet. I mean, within an hour.
My trouble is, boy, which you probably don't have, I got ringing in my ears, so I could not hear that difference. So, and that's why I like the GPX, and I'm sure I'm going to like the Knox, because I can make the tone fit to my ear to pick up the high tones that you hear, I don't hear.
Yeah.
The TDI, it's a great machine, and when you hit a button, you can tell it's a button or a good piece of brass.
I wish I'd have known that. I tell you, I hunted for 3 days with that thing. And
speaking of that, Jeff, my first plate came out of a hole that the guy had put his TDI on buttons, and that's all he was digging was buttons at Brandy Rock. And when I dug my plate, I said, well, somebody's already dug this hole. And Streak says, well, there was a guy in here yesterday digging buttons, and he was a TDI, and I went, he had it in the button mode, so he would have never heard a plate, and my plate was still another foot below where he dug that button.
No kidding. And see, that's amazing how you can, a machine does that. It'll pick up a button, general service or whatever, real good, but you get a plate, and it knolls just like a piece of iron.
Right.
And see, I own one, and then, I mean, that was the first machine I started using at DIVs. And, I mean, I've got the bullet sound down and the button sound down, but pretty much I run it in all metal, like you were saying earlier. But, I mean, it doesn't pick up them plates if you've got it in the button mode.
Hey, guys, let's run one more commercial, and then we'll be right back. If your passion is metal detecting, then you know how much your success is based on the equipment you use. Let my buddy Tim Henderson of Murray Branch Outdoors in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, help you with that. Tim is an authorized dealer of Garrett, XP Deus, Tesoro, and Macro detectors and supplies, and he is now an authorized dealer for Minelab. So, if you're looking to get your hands on the new Equinox 600 or 800, then Tim is your guy. Murray Branch Outdoors is not only competitive in their prices, but the service after the sale is second to none. Tim not only sells detectors, he uses them, and so he can answer any questions you might have. Murray Branch Outdoors also deals in used detectors, and he'll take your old detector in on trade when you decide to upgrade. So give Tim of Murray Branch Outdoors a call at 615-948-4611 and be sure and tell him Relics Radio sent you. And I tell you guys, if you do have any detector needs, call my buddy Tim Henderson. He is a great guy, and he will fix you up with that. I tell you what, we have got some really dedicated listeners. Ohio Relic Hunter said that he's in a rainstorm that's raining so hard he had to just pull over on the side of the road, but he is listening to the show and chatting. And I think Barb is having fun in the ER right now.
Yep.
Yeah, she said. But Denny, Barb said she wanted to know the rest of your settings on the
I'm looking at them.
On the display side. Okay, go ahead and give us those real quick.
Okay, motion, I've got in slow. My RX gain, I run around 5 to 7. I run a low gain because I know Anthony Hofstetler, he runs a really high gain, but he's using a garbage can, and I can't lift that thing. Garbage can.
That's right.
Coil, which is huge. And he's looking for the huts is what he's looking for. I'm a bullet man. I love bullets and plates. So I run around a 5 to 7. That's where I like to run at. Sometimes I crank it up and then I'm not finding anything, and I went, hey, you dummy, crank it back down. You know, some guys from Tennessee told me one time, and they were using the GP Minelabs, and they don't even have a gain control on there. It's just, they just run, and they were like killing us at Beauregard. I said, what do you guys? He said, we don't have gain. Shut your gain off. And it was just like night and day, and I went, holy cow, the bullets are every place. I just couldn't hear them. So it's up to you.
Your machine,
you want to run.
Your machine has got to be, it's got to be stable. And I accidentally stumbled up on that. Me and Jeff were running ours. Well, you know, the manual says the factory setting on that is 9, and we would run
exactly
9 to 13. And I was in what I call the 44 woods, and I had moved my gain from like maybe 9 up to 11 or something other. But I left the left toggle in that, so if you ever hit that right one, it will move it. And I accidentally hit that and moved it down to 5, and I started finding bullet after bullet after bullet, and everything was just as stable as it could be. I mean, I didn't have any interference or anything, and then I looked, and my RX gain was at 5, and I thought, man, I've learned something here by accident, you know.
Yeah, one time I had Tony, I was actually trying to dig out a bottle, and I told Tony, Anthony Hostel, I said, hey, Tony, pick up my machine and see if I'm getting this right. And he picked it up, and he said, how do you get it this quiet? And I said, well, Tony, I don't run at 16 or whatever you run. I run about 5 or 7. He said, man, this thing's quiet. And I said, that's the way I want it. So
yeah, it's got to be stable.
Denny, we were in the room one night. It was me and Hornbush and Sham and Randy. And then you come in, you were talking about running the gain real low. And then, of course, after I run it low the next day a little bit, and then, of course, then I was like, well, I'm going to touch it on up. You know how you do. You just mess with it. Get a little bit higher, and then, of course, after Loy found that, and then, of course, we started running it solid with the gain around 4 or 5. I mean, I'm a believer. So
yeah, that's where I like to run. But,
I put mine in
his own.
I put mine in 6. That's where I start out at. And my lead minch coil will not run stable if I don't turn it way down. Now, my 12 by 15 will run stable with a higher gain, and my 10 by 5 will run stable with a higher gain. But
I can tell you how to make that stabler when you – with all my settings here, the first thing you need to do is ground balance your machine. And, of course, there's going to be a lot of guys around you, so you're going to hit that little red button in front. I always point towards my buddy, and he points towards me. And, and it works because we don't pick each other up. I mean, it's great. And then that's just the way we do it. And if you ground balance right, then when I always turn down the manual tune. Right after I get done ground balance, I turn the manual tune. And you can tweak that a little bit and get it a little bit quieter. And I leave it at manual tune because if somebody come by you with another GPX, you can actually tune them out with your manual tune. Yeah, pretty easy. I mean, somebody's going to be messing with you all the time. They're going to be, I forget who it is, Bill Ladd. Bill, I used to hunt with Bill Ladd all the time at DIV, and Bill'd say he'd pick up a nail, and he said, "Now watch this, Denny. The back feeders are going to start running over there." He'd pick up a square nail and start dancing around the ground, and hey, what do you got? What do you got? And everybody would be running over there to see what he found because they wanted to hunt his area. And he said, "Oh, I got a square nail." So yeah,
that's the way. But I do the manual tune, and of course I run from 198 to maybe 201, and that seems to tune everybody out. I mean, that's the settings that I've found where you can get away from. You
can actually manual tune this machine and then not even use the auto ground balance.
Yeah. See, I heard it. I never use my auto. I just manual tune it. So we got another question. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. How long you been into metal detecting?
I started in 1983, and I call it my younger and dumber days because my neighbor and I ran a sawmill, and I mean a big sawmill, big tooth sawmill, not one of them little playthings you got in the garage. And it had like 83 teeth on the saw blade. And, of course, we were hitting all kinds of stuff in the logs that people brought in that said, oh, no, that was never in a fence row. Well, it was. And I decided I got a Fisher 1266 metal detector, and that was good. That's still a good machine. But anyway, the first thing I found using that was a horseshoe. So thank God we had that. It had ruined the whole blade on that thing.
I bet it would have.
Yeah, that's pretty. But I dug a lot of lead bullets out of there, and you get resistors from, the fence resistors and stuff like that. They put them in trees. They put them in the crotch. Then it grows around that. So never found a gun, but I have found guns in walls.
Man.
And a follow-up question to that was a question that Jeff had put in there. But do you remember your first good find?
My first good find. Yes, I do. It actually was at a college in the baseball area, an old baseball area, and it was a McCormick Daring comb. It was a metal comb out in the middle of this field, and apparently they had a Thrashers reunion or something in that field, and that doggone thing was in there, and I still got that comb. Pretty cool.
Now, is that a comb to comb your hair with, or a curry comb?
No, it was to comb your own hair with. But I've also found mustache combs and all kinds of things.
Hair picks and
oh yeah, all that good stuff. Yeah, I even found some that vibrates one time in a cornfield, but I won't go into that.
That's a different show. Maybe History Seekers.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Yeah, you can't do that on this show. We got too many
You
young.
never know what you'll find metal detecting. Everybody out here will tell you that.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I've got into. I've got a colonial site that's real close to the town in which I live in. In fact, it's pretty well downtown, but it's in kind of a secluded area just right in town there. A lot of trees and woods and hills and everything in there. And I've dug some needles out of the ground. That's why I wear gloves. And, you know, it's something. And Jeff has put the call-in number in. I know Denny very seldom takes a breath, but he's took one right now. So somebody call in tonight.
Just ask another question. If I ever used relic and coin timing mode, I never have. I mean, I've got machines here at home. I've found coins in Virginia at DIV. Seeded coins, and one of my favorite things to find at DIV or Diggin in Virginia is a flying eagle penny. And when you pick up you think it's an Indian head, well, it's either going to be a fatty Indian head or it's going to be a flying. If it's a fatty, when you pick it up, you can tell between a fatty and a regular Indian head. The fatties are the early ones, and then or it's a flying eagle penny. It's just as simple as that. No. So you find a lot of those in Virginia where the soldiers camped.
Yeah, and my only flying eagle was on a Civil War camp because that's what they carried back in the day, you know.
I've never found a gold coin, but I know guys have found gold coins. In fact, that one fella at
Matt
I believe nothing, but across the road, he found I forget how many gold coins in that pouch plus seeded quarters and $50. He had a hand and an armful of coins out of one hole.
Now that just ain't right.
That is not right.
A plow should have hit that over the years and spread that out, spread the wealth out just a little bit, so some other people.
Where he dug it at is Lloyd, and I was up there in that area. It's actually by a woods, and I think that's where they made their turn at, and they didn't plow that well.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever got down that deep because that's where the roots of the trees were at, and that's where he dug it at.
You know, me and Heath and Jeff Lupert were talking Monday night, and it is amazing sometimes in these when you're working a farm field how much stuff that you find along the edge of the field. Some of that is due to the machinery, like a disc with a drag on it. That's where they will turn and they will drag those things there. And sometimes it's just that ground has never been disturbed. You know, they stop plowing before they get there. They stop disking when they get there. So that's pretty well virgin ground, you know.
Yeah.
You find a lot of arrowheads that way too, at where they make the turn.
Yep.
I find more arrowheads metal detecting than I ever did arrowhead hunting.
Yeah.
Because I'm always looking at the ground. I love to find buttons, and that would be, what am I talking about?
The ceramic ones or the plastic ones?
Well, those and the ones they made out of shells.
Yeah.
Out of they made buttons out of those also.
There was another question.
Every 3 years that if you plow field, it turns back up to the top.
I don't know.
Well, nobody plows anymore. They're doing all this whatever they call it.
No-till, yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, yeah.
There
They
is-
do no-till
Somebody
now.
asked me if ground balance my carrot every time I use it. When I'm in Virginia, I ground balance. I put my pinpointer in the ground, and then I turn it on, and that ground balances any pinpointer to the ground. If you try to turn that pinpointer on before, especially in Virginia, because of the mineralization, if you turn that on before you put it in the ground, you'll get signals everywhere, and then that's what happened. I think a lot of guys are doing that and leaving targets.
Yeah, and see, I've got one in coil pepper. I've realized your carrot's got 3 settings. It's got low, medium, and high. I always run it on low in coil pepper and that red dirt. And here at home, I can run it in the medium setting. And then, but like if you start getting interference, you just mash the button one time and it'll ground balance.
You know,
You're welcome.
That's a good
Diggin
point.
Canuck.
Yeah, that's a good point that you made, Denny, because I do that no matter where I'm at. Whenever I turn my pinpointer on, I put it to the ground before I ever turn it on, and then you're ground balanced to the ground. Sometimes even when you put it in the hole, I will ground balance it again if I'm getting signals all in the hole. And most of the time that's going to be a piece of iron, but you can kind of zero in where the bigger part of the signal's at, you know. So, yeah, that's a good point.
Another thing, if you have a GPX or maybe any machine, ground balance your pinpointer to your machine. What I mean is turn on your pinpointer, then turn on your machine and ground balance your machine. That ground balances to your pinpointer. How many times have you pinpointed a target and it's driving your coil nuts or your headset? That's why the pinpointer is not ground balanced to the machine.
I need to do that because I do that about every time.
Yeah.
And when I ground balance my GPX, that's the first thing I turn on my pinpointer and just hold it, and then I hit the little red button down on my GPX, especially in highly mineralized soil. In Ohio, I don't have to hit that at all. We're not mineralized here. I just hunt.
Yeah.
But I always ground balance the pinpointer to the machine. You have to. A lot of guys said, because so many people said, like the Garrett, the regular Garrett pinpointer, I can't use this thing because it's no noisy. They never ground balance to the machine or to the ground.
Yeah, they're the same workings inside, other than the fact, you know, that you've got more sensitivity on the new carrot now. You know, you can go low, high, or medium on them, where you couldn't do that with the old one. But the ground balancing is still the same on it. Hey, we had another question that came in from Aggie Hall, actually 2 of them, and neither one of them is related to metal detecting. First of all, she wanted to know how you got so handsome, and then
I don't know. I'm just that way, Aggie. I don't know. Didn't know I was, but I guess I am.
Yeah, God does something right every now and then, doesn't he? And also wanted to know if you are related to John Wayne.
I am indeed. John Wayne's real name was Marion Mitchell Morrison. Mitchell was his grandmother's name, and Marion was one of his grandfather's name. He also went by Marion Robert Morrison, and that was my many great-grandfathers back who lived in Adams County, Ohio, and that's where John Wayne's grandfather came from. So
Yeah.
He isn't in my relation anymore, but when he was alive, he was.
Man, that's pretty neat. And how did you get into metal detecting?
Well, like I said, through the sawmill.
Okay.
That's how I started.
Okay.
So just stupid luck. I knew a guy that had a metal detector, and I said, "Hey, wonder if that thing will find things in logs." He said, "Of course." So it was through the sawmill.
Yeah.
What got you into Civil War hunting?
My buddy here in Ohio, he would go down. He went to the first DIVs, and I signed up for probably DIV 8 and 9. Never got chosen, and then they had a special hunt, and I think that was 9. I tried to get in that. That's the one they hunted over by Fredericksburg, I believe, and dug. If anybody's been into Virginia, and I highly recommend you go to the White Oak Museum. It is where a man and his son filled this museum with metal detecting finds, and a lot of guys like us or myself, we donate things to that museum, and they also put those in there. The Smithsonian have, if people want to know or see a Civil War battle, anything, they send them to the White Oak Museum north of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Highly recommend this place. So, but along with that hunt they did near Fredericksburg, they dug up a railroad track or a walkway, and they also at the end of this depot they dug up, they found almost 200 pairs of Civil War boots, and those are also in that museum. It's an awesome museum at White Oak Church near the museum. In one hole, they dug up 30 U.S. plates. One hole, no lead. They had taken the lead out to make bullets.
Goodness gracious,
man! 30 in one hole.
Just had the fronts on them.
30 in one hole. They've got another, just a case of over 60,000 bullets, just in one case. And maybe that, I don't even know how many thousands of buttons they've got. The senior man, he told me, and I think he's passed now, he told me they used to go out in the woods and they didn't use them. If you saw the metal detectors they used, it was like crazy. It was from the 50s. But they'd go out in the woods and just kick the leaves away and pick up the relics.
That's the way I started out with one of those old concentric coil metal detectors.
Right.
I only had one tone with it, and everything. But I found stuff and I learned to hunt. Hey guys, we got one more.
I actually got to hunt near Shiloh one time. The national park only was on private land, and the first time I went there, we actually could get a target and just kick the leaves away and pick it up. They had poker chips that they made out of 69 caliber bullets, and they'd smash them down, and they looked like a small pancake, and they used them for poker chips, and they were everywhere.
Yeah,
crazy.
I found some 44s in the 44 woods like that. Hey, let us run this commercial, and we'll be right back. If you want to keep up with what's going on in the metal detecting world, then you need to be a subscriber to American Digger magazine. Butch and Anita Holcomb are the publishers of the magazine and have won awards for 3 straight years for being the best digger magazine on the market. American Digger magazine is available in both print and digital formats, so no matter where you live in the world, you can enjoy the latest happenings in the hobby. You can get in touch with American Digger magazine by going to americandigger.com or give them a call at 770-362-8671 and be sure and tell them that you heard it on Relics Radio. And it is a great magazine, no doubt about it. The best, in my opinion. And by the way, I've got an article coming out in the January-February issue, The Great Silver Hoard. Most of you are aware of that. Jeff Ford, Wes Stringer, Chris Hamsoff, all part of that. I'm looking forward to that article coming out.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I mean, you've been working hard on it, and of course they worked hard digging the coins. But I bet they had more fun than you did, though.
Yeah, I know they did. I know that they did. And I didn't mean to cut you off there, Denny, but had to pay some bills, real quick.
Oh, that's fine.
And my chat's locked up, so I don't know what people are saying. Maybe they want
I'm watching them.
Okay, maybe they want us to get off the air. I don't know.
Travis said that was a corduroy road, and it is in the White Oak Museum. When you first walk in, there's a cannon there, and then that roadbed is right there. It's just made out of logs or sticks.
I remember watching a video, what was his name, Mudslide Slim or something like that. They was digging a corduroy road. I can't remember where it was at, but they found some boots and stuff. And then, it was pretty awesome.
That was over by Fredericksburg.
Hey, guys,
Okay.
we got a call. Miss Barb is called in. What's going on tonight, Barb?
Hello, Barb.
Hi.
Hi, Barb.
Just tired. 12-hour shifts, an hour away. Whew.
Man.
You got to pay your bills too, don't you?
Yeah, that Georgia money's hard to turn down.
Yeah.
Is it still
Hey, they got
Confederate
good-
money?
It's Confederate. I was just going to say that Confederate money is better than the North Carolina money. You know, that's Southern money, too. They're just cheap in this state.
Hey, Barb, how many times have you hunted DIV with Denny?
Oh, man, I think 3 or 4 times, don't you think, Barb?
Let me see. 1 DIV, 2 DIV, 3 DIV, 4 DIV, 4, 5, I think 6.
We're old-timers.
No, I'm not. I only started digging 4 years ago.
And I've hunted the same hunts as him. I just didn't know he was there. You know, we could have met, and we could have met at the New York camp, and I didn't know it.
Oh,
Yep.
you did?
No, I didn't know he was there.
I mean,
You know where I
saw
was at, Loy? I didn't go out in that field. I stayed up, and Barb was up there. I was digging 69 round balls, one right after another. And there was an old gentleman there, and he was digging. He says, I haven't dug a round ball. I haven't dug any bullets. But you know what he did dig? He dug crossed swords
Oh, man.
off of a soldier's hat, and those were really cool. And then I told him what my settings was, and after he dug that, and then he put my settings in there, he lowered his gain down because he was running really high gain. And he said, son of a gun, there are bullets there. I said, yeah, I told you that. I went right over where he was digging. He dug the cross swords, and I found bullets, and then I let him get back in there, and he dug some.
Well, see, I didn't know the gain thing at that time, and we were running ours hot. Barb was up
see,
there.
what-
Barb found a good.
What you're doing on the high gain, if you're a bullet hunter like me, and I've found huts with what I'm running, but I think with a high gain, you're blanking out bullets that are within a foot or so. They're just blanking out on you.
Yep.
You don't know they're bullets.
Yep, that's
And
what you're
you
doing.
lower your gain, and boom, they come right out at you.
What were you running yours up there, Barb, on the New York camp? You remember?
I run it at 5, but there have been sites that I have run it at 12,
Yeah.
but they weren't as hot as some of the other sites. And if it ain't as hot, I find the higher is better, but at the hotter ground sites, lower is better.
Right. It depends on or if you're on the high side of the hill or the low side of the hill also. Sounds crazy, but it's true.
Now, what
So-
what does that mean? I mean, what are you talking about
Well,
there?
the mineralization's either in the lower part. I think you're not getting as high a mineralization as you would on the higher part. Beats me. That's just the way God did it when He took the glacier through there.
Okay. Just
Now, Denny,
Yeah.
I have been at Brandy Rock, and one day the bullets was ringing, bullet signals. And Barb, you may be able to chime in this too, but the bullets was ringing just fine, just like bullets should be ringing. And all of a sudden, the next day, they were blanking. Same settings, everything.
That is because of the what do I want to what is it? What do I want to say, Loyal? It's
Atmosphere.
because of the what is it?
yeah, atmosphere.
It's the atmosphere. I've already, Jeff, this is the honest guy's truth. My partner and I hunted a one-room schoolhouse one day, went in there, and we absolutely didn't find anything. We went on down to another site and hunted there all day, and it started getting cooler and it looked like rain. I said, oh, let's head home. And we headed home, and I said, you know what? This might be a good time to hit that schoolhouse again. He said, we didn't find anything. We got out. He found a silver dollar, and I found 7 Indian head pennies because of the weather. The weather had changed. And I don't know how many of you guys do it. I always hunt back to the truck. I don't throw my metal detector on my shoulder or anything. I hunt, and I've always found something heading back to the truck.
Me and
I
Jeff
try
done
not
that.
to, depending on how tired you are.
Me and Jeff done that one
Yeah.
time. We were hunting an old house, and we weren't finding anything, and we were hearing those big dark clouds coming in, and it was, you could hear thunder way in the background. And as that got closer, signals just started screaming out where we wasn't getting anything prior to that. And it was just a change.
It's happened to DIV already. The rainstorm will come up, and the coin, and even coins start coming out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe in it.
Well, it's
Oh, yeah.
it's electromagnetic is what it is, and it changes the tide. The weather does, and so surely it can change the signals. And I guess you found that too, hadn't you, Barb?
Oh, definitely.
You need to get the weather right in your area so you can get on some Indians.
Oh, stop it. Somebody already put that in the chat, and I'm not even sure who they are. And they're like,
I found one.
I know you, and you're already picking on me about engines, and I don't think we've officially been introduced.
Hey guys, we got another call, 8178. Who we got on the line?
Hi, this is Jason.
Hey, Jason.
In Huntsville.
Hey,
Hello,
Jason.
Jason.
Welcome
Hi,
to the
guys.
show.
How's it going today? I just got a GPX a little while back and getting used to it, and I was wondering on your, you start out with the soil timing of normal and increment it up until it becomes unstable and then back it down is what I've been doing. But I was going to see what modes you set or what setting you set on your silencer and what soil timing do you use?
On the stabilizer, I think what you're talking about, is that right?
Yes.
I actually,
Hey, hold on,
just sounds. I run it two above whatever I run my gain at. But it's just wherever it stabilizes out at. I would go until it just starts getting ratty and then back it off.
Are you talking about the
Okay.
stabilizer?
On the
Yes, sir.
stabilizer.
I tell you something that I heard. I don't know that it's right or not, but if you go up in gain, you need to go down on stabilizer. If you go down in gain, you need to go up on stabilizer. But I run my stabilizer at 3 all the time.
And I
Okay.
know other guys do that too, Loy. Exactly.
I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I get better results running my stabilizer at 3. Now I know Jeff Ford
You
does
get it too high and it's going to get ratty on you. It's going to get really choppy on you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I guess
Now,
that's
your soil timing, are you guys running in the fine gold mode or something
No.
down towards the relic side on the settings? You can roll it down there to, there's relic and gold, there's one up above that, and then normal's about in the middle. Some
would
people
use
run
normal.
fine gold.
I'm running normal.
Normal, or what are you in, special soil timings? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
You can go special, special enhanced. I'd just do special or normal is what I'd run.
Okay,
Normal's
gotcha.
what I really like to run at. I don't get all that interference from everybody else, and it's just as good as any of them.
Yeah. Well, thanks. That was a good tip on the White Oak Museum. I've been there, and that was just an amazing place. I was just
Yeah,
surprised at the number of bullets and plates, and it's amazing that much stuff was pulled out of there. But that place is just stock full, so that's a good tip for anybody. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the pinpointer tip as well. So I'm going to get off here and let you guys continue on.
Hey, Jason,
care.
Jason,
Colin.
Yes, sir.
do me a favor. Send this to Diggin with 7. It doesn't have a G on the end of it. Just Diggin with 7 at gmail.com. Send me
Okay.
your name and your address and your shirt size, and detecttees.com is going to send you a Relics Radio T-shirt for calling in tonight.
Well, I appreciate that, sir.
Okay?
Appreciate it. First time. So we'll
Yeah, just,
keep listening to you guys.
Yeah, just shoot me an email to that, or just to Relics Radio, one word, at outlook.com. We can get it either way and send that, and I'll make sure to holler at Ken and Mark, and they'll get you a shirt. And when you get it, take a picture of yourself and go to the Relics Radio Facebook group page. Put your picture on there with that. We'll give you a number, and sometime in November we're going to give away a Garrett Pro Pointer AT. So you got a chance to win that too.
Well, very good. Thanks for that opportunity, guys, and I appreciate.
Are you going to be at DIV, Jason?
Not this year. I'll try to go next time around, though.
All righty, we'll be looking for you.
Yeah, that's when
thank you.
That's when we're going to go, is in the spring. And if you get drawn out, or if you go there, you be sure and look us up so we can all get together and meet and get a group picture together and all that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that sounds exciting. I appreciate that, guys.
And
Thanks
we always
for hosting the show.
We always do a live show at DIV too, and we will we'll put out where we're going to do that at. Normally, it's in the conference room at the motel there at Best Western, but we're going to do that. And Barb was in on that this last year. But hey, appreciate you listening. Appreciate the call.
Yep. Thank you, Jason.
My pleasure. Take care.
Bye now.
That was a good time, wasn't it, Barb? Last year, that live show.
It was great. Jeff Ford was there. Matt was there. There were a whole bunch of people. It was great.
Missouri Mike was there, and Matt Howell had a lot of his people. And see, Denny, you were at the hunt, and you didn't come.
I know, and I missed you.
You didn't come to our show. You could have come in there and just filibustered right there live.
And Butch was a big part of it too. So.
Yeah, Butch was there. I forgot that.
Jeff Luber and I have done a couple shows from the back room of the Best Western there.
Yeah, he said that y'all had done some.
And we can't forget about that banner that Earl from Virginia got us.
Oh man, yeah. And we debuted that banner there, and we've used it at the Chattanooga show, and we're going to use it everywhere that we go. And funny that you would mention Earl. He is our guest next week on Relics Radio, and we're looking forward to having Earl from Virginia on. Earl Schul.
Oh, sure. Yep. He's into hunting for arrowheads, and, I mean, pretty much all the treasure hunting stuff. It's going to be a great show.
I'll look him up when I'm over there in November.
Yeah, y'all go over and look him up. He, I don't know exactly where he's at. Do you, Jeff?
In Virginia.
Yeah, in Virginia. He's, I think it's like 45 minutes from Culpeper.
Yeah, he's not far.
No, it's further than that because I checked in at the Welcome Center when I entered Virginia on 81, and he said he was like 45 minutes from there, I thought.
Oh, okay.
Which is...
Just ask him. He's on the net.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to chime in here. To say, he's typing right now. I know he's typing.
Where you at, Earl?
Yeah, where you at, boy?
Yeah.
I just asked him.
I've got his address wrote down. But,
see, I can't see anything on the chat. The last thing that I seen was Barb saying, "I so need a flying eagle."
Virginia.
Yeah, Winchester. Yeah, hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah, I tell you what, Earl is.
Winchester is the most overrun city in Virginia, I believe. It was the most taken by both sides, like 10 times each.
Isn't Winchester north on 81?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's funny because when I posted Welcome to Virginia, he's like, Barb, I'm right near that.
West of Culpeper.
Yeah, west of. I know where he's at. I go through Winchester all the time.
Yeah.
I never get to stop. I've been wanting to stop at they got a park there, an industrial park there, and the park built right over one of the campsites.
I know we would leave the hunt, and then he'd be like, well, I'm going to leave Sunday evening, and then, of course, that only takes him an hour and 10 minutes to get home, and, of course, it takes us 12 hours. So I'm like...
I'll tell you something about Earl, though. He is a snorer. You better bring your sound machine if you sleep with him.
Oh, my goodness. Sound machine, you better bring more than that.
I've got a white noise sound machine that I take with me, and then he brought earplugs for all of us, and I could still hear him snoring. But now, he's a great guy. No doubt about it. Won't be no snoring next week. None at all.
Amen.
Yeah. Hey, Denny, before we get off here tonight, you need to let everybody know where they can get in touch with you. You got any YouTube channels or Facebook or?
Oh, I go by Ringfinder7 on YouTube. I've got, 20 or 30 YouTubes from Virginia. Most of them are Virginia. I did one, I think, with Wendy Robinson down in Tennessee. He and Doug. And I've done a few around Tennessee, yeah. So I go by Ringfinder7 on YouTube, and other than that, it's just my email address. I'm not giving it out.
What about your telephone number?
Yeah, I got your phone number.
BR49.
Yeah, 549. Yeah.
BR549.
BR549. And a little trivia question. What show was that on?
Hee-haw.
There you go. There's a lot of people here that wasn't even born when Hee-haw was on. That's terrible, I tell you. And
that was one of my childhood memories that I remember, and a great time. And I still watch it if I can catch it on any time. Is Hee-haw. I mean, I remember loving that show.
Yeah. Yeah, it made a lot of people famous. There's no doubt about it. Well, I tell you what, Denny, you have been a pleasure to talk to tonight, and I know that most of this show was about the GPX, but that's your wheelhouse, and that's what you do, and about Civil War hunting, and there's a lot of people that I'm sure learned a lot tonight listening to you. I have, and I know that Jason has.
When you talked about what I use in Virginia, I do have 7 different metal detectors, though, still.
Yeah,
never have enough.
No, I've only got 3. Well, actually, I've got 4 right now. I've got an E-Track. I got 2 AT Pro, so I guess I got 5. And then I got an Equinox, and then I got a GPX. But yeah, you're right. My wife always says, "You need another one of them." I said, "You need another pair of shoes." So
exactly.
Yeah, it's just kind of a stall right there. But they're all tools in something. And I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to meeting up with you in person, and feel like I, consider you to be a good friend, and I want to meet you and hunt with you. And if you can get down our way, well, we can make that happen. Or if you can't, well, we'll meet you at DIV, or we might drive up to Ohio and hunt with you sometime.
Well, I've taken Butch out already, but I might be down your way maybe in February. That's when the snakes are down, so that's when I like to go south.
Yeah.
Yeah, deer season's over with. That'd be a good time.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's our prime hunting time, I tell you, is in the wintertime down here.
Mm-hmm.
But we do appreciate you coming on the show. And, Jeff, you got anything else that you want to add tonight?
I just appreciate Denny being on, and Barb for calling, and Jason, and then the other callers, and then just appreciate everybody listening in. And, of course, I seen Chris Hansall. He put where, oh, where are you tonight?
My man.
Why did you leave me here all alone?
Yeah, I don't think.
All right, 7. You're supposed to start. You're supposed to take the rest of it over.
I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. I'm not going to try to start a singing career. I got too much going on in my life already. But hey, guys, we do appreciate you being on, Denny, and so good to have you back, Jeff. I missed you. I love you, my friend.
Missed you too. Love you too, buddy.
And there's nothing funny about that, I mean, we're both happily married.
Yeah.
And with children. And I've got grandchildren, too. But we do appreciate everybody being on tonight. And if you like metal detecting shows, check out Beyond Sight and Sound on Sunday night and Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern with Josh Kimmel. And we were talking about Butch Holcomb a while ago, American Digger Relic Roundup. He's on there with Heath. And Jeff Lupert on Monday night at 9 o'clock. And then All Metal Mode is on Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then History Seekers is on Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. That's Heath Jones and Scott Duncan. And then Hardcore Metal Detecting is on Thursday night and Saturday night. and they have a good show as well. Obviously, we are on every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, and want you guys that we've got on the line here to just hang on. As soon as I close the show out here, I'll talk with y'all, but we're going to go ahead and close out tonight, and appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Relics Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live each Thursday night at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker. Or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or iTunes. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure and follow us so that you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Diggin with 7 or Tennessee Jeff, or you can check us out on our Relics Radio Facebook page. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to digginwith7@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you'll join us next Thursday night, and until then, get out there and dig some history.